Hello. Voice of Rio with Dean Donna Mitchell and myself, Dean Heather Duda, will happen in just a few moments, so stay tuned to talk to some alumni.
Hello and welcome to the Voice of Rio Grande. I'm Dr. Donna Mitchell, Dean of the College of Professional and Technical Studies, along with my co-host, Dr. Heather Duda, Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. Hello, Heather.
Hi, Donna. How are you?
I'm well. It's a busy day on Rio campus today.
I know, and for a summer day, that is saying a lot. A lot of times people think college campuses are quiet and not much happening during the summer, but we are very busy.
We are. I see the children outside playing basketball with basketball camps and band camps coming in. And we have other groups that are coming in and using the buildings, and it's almost as busy as during the actual school year.
It is, and you know, I've gotten to the point where on Mondays I'm not always sure what I'm going to see. I came in a couple weeks ago, and there was an student art camp here, and it was just wonderful to see all the artwork around, and they had a band playing, and they were pretty good.
So there's always something fun at Rio Grande.
Always.
Well, today we're really, I think, fortunate to have 3 alums to come and talk to us from a variety of different programs here at Rio. And our first guest is Michael Hughes, and he is a graduate of the nursing program. Michael, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Graduate of the nursing program ×2, graduated in '84 with my associate degree and '96 with my bachelor's. More about me, I actually live in Arizona. I've lived there actually for the last about 40 years, I think. And I am a registered nurse. I've worked most of my career in mental health, either inpatient or outpatient. Presently, and also since about 2006, I've taught in colleges of nursing, both baccalaureate and associate degree programs, and presently am lead psychiatric nursing instructor at Mesa Community College in Mesa, Arizona. We are one of the 10 community colleges in the Maricopa County Community College District, which is one of the largest in the country. I also teach part-time, starting in the fall, RN to BSN for Upper Iowa University.
So you've got quite a history of nursing practice dating back several years. What made you decide to go into nursing? I know probably when you went into nursing it was more unusual to see men in nursing, although we're getting more and more men in nursing, which is what we want to see happen. But how did you decide to choose nursing?
Well, a close relative of mine who was a career nurse, and she was one of those people who knew from the time that she was a child. I can remember her saying when she was probably, less than 10 years old, I'm going to be a nurse someday. And my first area of emphasis was psychology at Miami University. And I realized that having a bachelor's in psych wasn't really going to be all that marketable, I guess, at that point in my life. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, and so she recommended to me that why didn't I consider nursing? And I remember initially I thought, nursing? A guy? Why? Why would I want to do that? But without a doubt, it's been the best decision I ever made. It's been that opportunity. Well, it allowed me to change my life, and I am in a career that I love, and I pass on that love and that passion to my students, and yeah, I am a career nurse and always will be.
And so you started your career actually at Rio, as far as your educational career in the nursing program. Do you feel like Rio prepared you well for graduate programs and for practice?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I already had the motivation, I guess, after my associate degree that I wanted to go on, but you know, being an instructor in nursing, it was a necessity that I had to have an advanced degree, but Rio, and especially the nursing program, did prepare me for that. It was rigorous. It stood up with any nursing program and curriculum that I was familiar with at the time. So yeah, no doubt.
What would you tell a student who's considering a career in nursing, given your professional experiences? If they were thinking of a couple of programs, and Rio was one of them, what would you say to them to encourage them to pursue nursing, and what Rio might have to offer that would be a benefit to them?
Well, you know, I think that because of the demographic in the area, I think it would allow students from this area to jump into a career area that's going to give them job security and financial security for the rest of their lives. You know, I mean, nursing is definitely an area that we have no doubt that, you know, we're going to be able to find employment wherever we are and for as long as we are. I'm not the youngest person in the world, but, you know, I'm thinking that I'll be, you know, employed as a nurse for quite a few more years because I still love it. And it's the opportunity. And you know, it's also the opportunity for growth in the profession, and it's the variety of types of nursing that you can go into. I started out in critical care, cardiology, open heart, things like that, and worked most of my career in psych mental health, and that's more my passion as a communicator and a counselor. But nurses can go so many different directions. I have a friend who's an informatics specialist and does, you know, things related with computers. So there are things related to nursing that we never thought would exist 20, 30, 40 years ago. So it's a wide open field. And I remember seeing a commercial at home in the Phoenix area saying, for one of the other colleges, not the one I teach for, saying that within the next 20 years there will be, I think it was like 5 million new jobs in healthcare. Would you like to have one of these, or would something like that? And it's one of the only you know, economy-proof professions to get into. Other things, changes in the economy and different things will change opportunities in the field, but not so in nursing, from my experience.
Great.
Do you have any special memories for your time at Rio? Anything that stands out?
You know, I mean, the Rio of the early 80s was different than the Rio of now, I'm sure, but I mean, it was friendly, homey, you know, college campus that I was welcomed into, although at the same time it was rigorous. I mean, I knew that I was being challenged, and I knew that I wasn't just going to some, you know, small you know, area college, and so I knew it was quality education. And as far as experiences, I probably have too many to mention. I mean, I have a lot of memories about, you know, colleagues and fellow students and things that happened, and I always have good memories of coming here.
Wonderful.
Great. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And I was remarking beforehand, I think you've probably traveled the farthest for anyone to be on our show. So thank you very much for taking the time and coming talk to us about your experiences.
Thank you.
And about nursing, because nursing right now is our largest major on campus. So we do have a lot of nursing students, and we have a lot of alums who are out doing great things like you, or college professors who are nurse practitioners, who are physicians, who are bedside nurses. And as you said, the opportunities are just out there. They're just vast.
The sky is the limit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
joining us. It's always fun to talk to alums and talk about their experiences. And today we have alums from 3 different areas. So we'll get 3 different perspectives and 3 different ideas. But yet I think we may hear some themes that are are common among the three.
I agree. I think that we will see that Rio has some commonalities no matter what you decide to major in, that Rio brings people together from all over.
Right.
Well, I think our second guest is ready.
Right. Our second guest is Nicole Waldron. I believe she goes by Nikki, so we may call you Nicole or Nikki. And she is also an alum of Rio, and you can tell us what year you graduated and what your major was.
I graduated in 2001 from the psychology department here, and then went on to Marshall University for a graduate program in clinical psychology, and after that actually got hired at my old middle school, or junior high at the time, and they sent me back to get a master's degree in school counseling, so I ended up with another master's from OU, and figured, what the heck, I have half of my education done for a PhD, so just went right on ahead and finished my coursework for the PhD too through OU.
Wow. That's great. And how did Rio prepare you for pursuing multiple degrees?
I feel like I got a really good foundation here, a really good research foundation. The professors that were here at the time when I was here are no longer here, unfortunately, but I had Dr. Jerry Sparkman, who was fantastic. He gave us a wonderful foundation for later graduate school work, research work, just fantastic. He was very rigorous, and I learned a lot from him. And then Ed Safranco was the other that was a huge influence on me and was really a mentor to me during the time I was here, and kind of pushed me towards psychology and fostered that interest.
We had some very good psychology professors at that time. We actually have some very good psychology professors now as well, some newer folks in that field, but they have a passion for psychology as well. I know you've done different things as well as teaching, or as being in middle school and being a counselor, and you do some work in the community. Could you share some of your community work that you do, your outreach? I know through your job you do some of those things.
Sure. We have some projects going at the middle school. I'm at the Vinton County Middle School now, and there was several years ago a group of students, student-led activities. They came up with all of these projects that filled needs in the community and in the school. So some of the things that came out of that were school garden, feeding program for kids that may be food insecure, clothing store where they saw that their peers were lacking sometimes winter coats, shoes, things where historically teachers have tried to fill in, or community has tried to fill in to kind of meet those needs, to say, you know, this kid doesn't have a pair of shoes, can we get him a pair of shoes? Who's going to pitch in and help? And a lot of times that was done under the radar. And then just to see the kids come together and the heart and soul that they put into it, trying to help their peers. We now have a whole room full dedicated to clothing, with clothing, shoes, coats, all kinds of items that are used for students there at the school. We've also had families come in and take advantage of that. Like we had a family that had a house fire and had come in and had gotten clothes for the whole family. So we were able to do that, and our kids now are working on blessing boxes for our community. That was the last project they did, and they actually built the boxes, put the boxes together under the instruction of a teacher, and those boxes were placed around our county in the different little hubs in the communities, ones at the church, ones at the post office, just different places where like there are high traffic areas. Job and Family Services, there's one there, and it's free food, and sometimes there's clothing, just different things, usually food, but stuff just to help people that may be in need. So.
Now, do you have to have a child at the school to be able to assist with any of those outreach opportunities?
We've had parent volunteers, and we had somebody from the community that had kind of taken over our school garden portion. He was a former extension agent, so he had the knowledge, and he came in, and he has a real passion for gardening and working with youth, and so he helped us for a while, really, to get off to a good start. And we also had community partners through Athens CFI, Community Food Initiatives, We had care outreach that had helped some. We had Rural Action that came in and did a waste assessment. We had a recycling program there for a while, and we still do paper recycling, and there are a lot of really neat projects going on there at the middle school.
Wow, it sounds like it's a very active community.
It is, and I see a trend in that you majored in psychology as a helping relationship and a helping profession, and that has carried over into your personal life and into the other projects that you're taking on as you reach out to try and make the world a better place, I guess, for the people that are in your community and in your county and the children that you see. I've also noticed a trend here because we're hearing psychology twice now. Our first guest majored in, or was a psych nurse, and now is teaching mental health nursing, and now we have a psychology major. And I believe you've also finished some coursework toward a doctorate in psychology.
Yes, finished all my coursework. Then kids came along and it kind of halted my dissertation, comps, internship, all that stuff came to a screeching halt once the two of them arrived. But I have come back to teach for Rio, actually, since I've been done too. So that's been really rewarding. I've been able to teach there in Vinton County several psychology classes. So.
Okay. Do you feel like you've come full circle from being the student and being influenced by strong psychology faculty to being a psychology faculty yourself and influencing students?
Yeah, it's kind of funny how that worked. But yeah, it's very rewarding.
Great.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on and talking to us. Do you have any special memory that you have of Rio that you could share with us?
I have so many good memories of being here, and I think at the time, you know, we kind of complained and would joke around like there's nothing to do or whatever, that it was, you know, not real active like OU or something, you know, with things to do and places to go. But I feel like I formed real relationships here, like real connections with people, and you take all that other stuff away, and that's what really matters. So, and I still keep in contact with those folks that I met here, my friends, and I value those.
And what caused you to choose Rio when you were coming to college?
Actually, Rio offered me a full scholarship. At that time, they were giving scholarships to all valedictorians and salutatorians for high school. So it made the most financial sense to me, and it was close to home, and I felt like the quality of the education was good. So it was a win-win on all counts for me to be here. And I know some of my friends went different places and they went to bigger schools, and I don't feel like they maybe got the foundation or had the mentoring relationships that I was able to have here. Just, you know, with the quality of the faculty and the smaller class size, and I feel like I really benefited from my time here.
Excellent. And I think that is a strength of Rio, is our small class sizes, and you get to interact with full professors and doctorally prepared faculty, even when you're a freshman, and some of the larger schools don't offer that.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today, for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and see and talk to us, and good luck with all of your professional and educational work that you're doing.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. You know, we often say that our community, our relationships are one of the things that make Rio unique and our valuable experience. And it's so nice to hear these alum come back and confirm that. Even, you know, more than a few years out, they're saying we still maintain these relationships. We still value these elements of our education.
Right. I know some of our faculty still reach out to alums several years down the road to see how they're doing and make connections. And it is fun to see our alums and see them succeed, and just feel proud that we've been a little piece of some of that.
Yeah. Now, our next guest is an alum, but is a little more recent. So our third guest is Adam Hollingshead. Adam graduated just a couple of years ago. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your majors and what you've been doing in the last couple of years?
Well, when I started at Rio, I was a history major. And then I got into the honors program, and that allowed me to free up my schedule, so I was able to turn my English minor into a major as well, and so I graduated with 2 degrees. And then I went to Marshall University and earned my master's in history, and now I'm moving on to get a PhD in English at Kent State.
What made you decide to do a master's in history and a PhD in English?
Really, the thing that started it was when I began at Rio, I was really passionate about history. And then about halfway through, I started to feel more like an English student, but I still loved history. So I wanted to get that extra level in history and then move on to do English, which I really just fell in love with.
So what are your goals after you finish your doctorate?
I would really like to teach somewhere. I would prefer a smaller place like Rio, because even going to somewhere like Marshall, which isn't a very large school, but but sometimes you get more students than is easy to deal with. And it's been my experience that the larger classes aren't as good as the smaller classes.
So you valued the small classes over larger ones. Is there a reason what you took away from the smaller setting?
You just get you get more experience with the professor. It always seemed to be that there was more of a dialogue in class with smaller classes. It seems the more people you put in the room, the less they want to talk. And that always made discussion very difficult.
Do you feel like your degrees prepared you for your master's work?
Yes. With my degrees, I just earned really the ability to research and write, which is a very important skill when you go into a master's program, because you are suddenly expected to be working at a much higher level. And definitely the research skills and the writing skills that I was taught helped that immensely.
Great. Why did you choose Rio initially?
Well, it was, really initially it was the place I could get into. I didn't go to Rio right after high school. I just really waited to find out what I really wanted to do. And then I moved. So it was about 3 years before I actually went back to school after I graduated high school. And Rio was here. It was a good place to start out. And it was a great experience because it allowed me to make the most out of the whole thing.
What would you recommend to someone who's thinking about coming to Rio, especially from the vantage point of someone who started their college maybe a little later than students traditionally do in much of the United States?
My advice would be to really think about what it is you want to get out of your education first, and then, just figure out what you need to accomplish that. And I think a lot of people go just because they think they should without thinking ahead. And so they're going somewhere without really knowing where they're going. And so having an idea of what you want out of it first, it motivates you to actually get it, and it helps you out to learn what you want to do in the long run.
I think that's very good advice.
Do you have any special memories from Rio that you could share with us?
I think in the classroom, I think the experience that stands out to me the largest is I spent a year studying my favorite Shakespeare play, Hamlet, and actually got to write and present a scene from my own adaptation of it.
Awesome.
Now, will that have any bearing on your doctoral work?
Yes. My idea for continuing to study English is to have a dissertation where I focus on Hamlet and how it changes with every single adaptation to really fit the time it's been produced. I think there's a very strong correlation between a society, the progress of society in a production of Hamlet. Like Ethan Hawke's Hamlet is very indicative of the early 2000s, and I see that repeating itself over and over.
It sounds like your research in history is going to provide you with a good foundation for your cultural studies in your English program.
Yeah, sometimes we think about how did these two go together, and then all of a sudden it just makes perfect sense. And he gave a great example of how that works.
Yes. And the Ethan Hawke's Hamlet is definitely a product of its time, as well as being an adaptation of a play that is of all times. So, I think that we have time for one more question. Adam, you mentioned you were in the honors program. Would you recommend honors to students who are maybe given that opportunity? Do you feel like that also contributed to your success in your graduate work?
Yes, I definitely think that contributed to my success, because it's you're used to working at a slightly elevated level if you're expected to be in that program, because you have to keep a higher GPA to continue to be into it. So if you're looking to move forward, it makes you ready to adapt to that increased expectation.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Adam, for coming and being on the show, and we wish you the best of luck with your doctoral work that you'll be starting here in the fall.
Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you.
You know, Donna, I saw some themes emerge among our students. We talked a little bit about the sense of community, but also the academic rigor and excellence that our faculty provide for our students prepares them for anything that's going to come next.
They sure do. And I think we're out of time for today, so thank you for joining us for another episode of Voice of Rio Grande, and we'll see you again next time.